I'm Gavin England from Kronos, and I'm here to talk to you about how improving your workforce management strategies can help you to address the skills gap that we're currently seeing today in the logistics industry. Now, I'm sure you don't need me to tell you that the environment in which logistics organisations work has changed dramatically over the last few years, and it's mainly driven by the fact that consumers are ever more demanding. So we're seeing the continued rise of omni-channel, where these demanding consumers want more flexible options in the way that they purchase goods, where they purchase goods from, and more importantly, how they receive those goods. They're demanding ever easier ways to return goods that they don't want, and also they're driving new peaks and troughs in demand, so Black Friday, for example. So it means that logistics organisations are having to be much more flexible. So it's always been a juggling act, but it seems that these demanding consumers are throwing ever more juggling balls at us for us to keep in the air. And also, you need to provide more capacity in order to accommodate the growing need. Now, you can apply new technologies to increase efficiencies. You can make purchases in terms of increasing your capacity, but at the end of the day, the key to this is people, the people within your organisation. So having the right people within your organisation, the right numbers of people with the right skills in the right place at the right time, is absolutely critical to achieving this additional flexibility and capacity. But of course, here is where the dilemma lies, because we are seeing currently an ever-increasing shortage of skills in this industry, particularly drivers, but also in other areas as well. So this lack of skilled people really is becoming a real barrier to achieving what we need to meet the demands of these consumers. Now, filling this skills gap is notoriously difficult, and there are some great initiatives in place in industry for bringing new people into logistics, bringing young people in, retraining. But in the shorter to medium term, logistics organisations need to be not only thinking about how they can recruit more people, but importantly, actually thinking about what you can be doing to optimise the existing workforce that you have available to you already, and also to retain that workforce. But doing this is really a bit of a balancing act. On one hand, you need to understand how you can increase efficiency and productivity, how you can make your staff more productive, but not at the detriment of those staff. So importantly, you need to make sure that at the same time you keep them happy and engaged. And it's a real balancing act between the two, and it's a very difficult balancing act. And this is where improving your workforce management strategies can really help. So what we're talking about here is a number of things, really. Firstly, putting in place systems and methods to better capture accurately all of your workforce related data. So it could be data on the skills of your workforce, it could be their certifications, it could be the hours that they've already worked recently, it could be the shifts they want to work in the future. So anything related to the working patterns and the qualifications of your staff, it's all about capturing that accurately as a sort of baseline. Once that's in place, it's then about integrating this data. So taking all of these sort of bits of data from different aspects of your workforce, bringing them together and creating a holistic view of that workforce. And that will give you really good insights to help you make much more accurate long-term and real-time decisions. And really, I guess the third element of this is putting in place the right processes and methods to capitalise on that data. Once you have that data in place, it's like gold dust. You can do so much with it. So putting processes in place to really make the most of that data, for example, to drive more efficient scheduling, is really the third element. So what we're talking about here is really a proactive and automated approach to your workforce, understanding what they're doing and understanding their skills and their situation. So the first thing to consider is really the basics, and that's putting an effective process in place to capture time and attendance information. So capturing more accurately the hours people have worked, but also taking into account the rules that really sort of dictate the hours that people can work, how they're paid overtime, how they're paid for other sort of unsociable hours payments, whatever it might be. So things like union rules, company rules, legislation, that kind of thing. And that will give you visibility into the spare capacity within your organisation, and also ensure that your staff are paid accurately for the hours that they worked. Once the basics are in place, you can then use that current time and attendance data as well as historical data to feed into how you do your scheduling, to feed into the scheduling process. So your scheduling process essentially becomes intelligent based upon your demand, but also based upon things like who's available with the right skills at that particular time. And the next level of granularity is thinking about how you can better track the activities that people are taking part in. So who's doing what, when, how long are they taking to actually do those tasks and activities, whatever they may be. So from this you can understand maybe who's overutilised, who's underutilised. And because we're talking here about this holistic environment where you're integrating all of this information together, you can then use that to drive your scheduling as well. So you can redeploy, for example, those people that are being underutilised and move them to much more value-added activities. You can also, using this data, look at who the high achievers are and who the low achievers are. Recognise the high achievers to incentivise them and keep them in that sort of high achievement zone, and also you can, with the low achievers, you can address their needs as well with training, with mentoring, whatever it might be. So either way, you are making those people more effective, more productive. And managing overtime information, managing overtime data alongside your time and attendance data is also critical. That gives you a better view of the people that have worked excessive hours, and maybe people that have not yet reached overtime. They still have standard hours to burn up. So you can essentially have better visibility again of your spare capacity. So for example, you might want to schedule people in that have not yet hit the overtime payments. So ultimately you're spreading the workload amongst people. You're not overburdening certain people with too much overtime, but also potentially reducing your overtime payments too. Absence management, so better management, putting processes in place, putting methods in place to better manage absences. So for example, planned absences, that can actually feed again into the scheduling, but also you can look at trends in absences as well, and you can use that to actually predict with your scheduling who's likely to be available at any point in time over the coming months and schedule accordingly. And finally, analytics. So using analytical tools with real-time graphical dashboards to give you visibility of what's going on in all of these areas can really enhance that information and make it available to other people within the organisation. That better visibility of hours people have worked, better understanding of the labour trends within your organisation, understanding who's available, understanding the rules that govern their workload, that will allow you to intelligently schedule the right people to the right task at the right time. So essentially what you're able to do is fully utilise drivers and other staff. So again, making the most of the people that you do have available. And also as another benefit, you can ensure adherence to all of the various labour laws, overtime rules, union rules and so on, to make sure that you're compliant while you're doing this. Now if this is done well with the right processes in place, it also provides real-time information really at the fingertips of managers and supervisors, so they can do what we call managing in the moment. So managing in the moment is about using that data in real time. So for example, let's say one day 3 people don't turn up, they're off ill, so the relevant manager or supervisor can use this real-time data available to him to instantly look at who else could be available to replace those that are absent, who has the right skills, who can I use within union guidelines or legislative rules. I'm not overburdening those people. Who wants to work extra shifts? So really understanding straight away how you can backfill those absences. So within a very short space of time, you can actually have somebody in place to replace those absent people to make sure that your business continues successfully. So putting together in place the right workforce management strategies can really help to bring more efficiency and productivity. But if it's done properly, it's not at the expense of staff. In fact, if it's done well, you can actually increase staff well-being, happiness and engagement. You can provide a flexible work-life balance as well. So you can provide employees with access to this sort of central repository of information, within reason, only accessing the information they need to access, but they can use it to manage their own time. They can manage their shifts, they can manage holidays, they can swap shifts with their colleagues within guidelines that you set, so they can actually better and more flexibly manage their own time. There's a certain element of fairness that's built into this as well. Because of the visibility of all of this information across the organisation, people see that they're treated a lot more fairly. And you can empower your staff as well through the analytical dashboards, real-time dashboards of easy to understand graphical information. People can see what's going on in the business and they can be a part of that. They can see what impact they're having on the business and even be part of any process improvements in a much more in a much easier way. So these are just some bullet point examples. It's not absolutely everything, but getting the right workforce management strategies in place really does help to increase employee engagement too. The value of getting it right has been proven to give you big benefits, and these are metrics from industry analysts looking at organisations that have improved their workforce management strategies and have got it right. So in terms of efficiency and productivity, you can reduce absenteeism by up to 30%, increase your utilisation of your staff, and also improve productivity by up to 20%. And when it comes to employee engagement, this kind of thing is, it's often difficult to measure, but you can look at things like staff turnover. And getting this right has proven time and time again to reduce staff turnover and also reduce the absenteeism I mentioned a moment ago. So we at Kronos, we work with organisations in many industries and a lot of companies in the logistics industry in order to help them improve their workforce management strategies. And these are just some examples of some of the customers that we're working with globally to help them realise some of the benefits I've just been talking about. So in summary then, how can you address the growing skills gap within the logistics industry? Well, recruiting is obvious, but it's difficult. So as well as thinking about recruiting, you need to be thinking more and more about how to optimise and engage your current workforce. Applying the right workforce management strategies, putting the right methods in place and the enabling technology will allow you to increase productivity and efficiency of your staff, but at the same time, not overburdening them and actually improving their well-being and their engagement. And we at Kronos have been doing this with organisations for many years. So that's really it from me. Okay, thank you very much for your time.